August 2nd. It's Friday, and what dawned upon me is do a video slash podcast about my experience with police officers in my area. So I'm gonna be 100% real with y'all. I've had mostly positive interactions with police officers. I actually applied to be a police dispatcher, and I went to the station to take a test to be a dispatcher, and I only missed 9 questions on the test. So I think I got like 40 questions right, and I only missed 9. So that should tell you something. So basically, how I feel about police officers and the law is when I was younger, my parents dealt with police, and they worked for the government, they worked for the city. So they were friends, with the police because my dad was a manager for Fleet division. So Fleet is, dealing with the fire trucks, the police trucks, the trash trucks. So like his team used to work on the police cars. So he had direct access to the police. So he was cool with them. And we lived next to an FBI agent, Mr. Teddy, growing up. So whenever my mom would call the police because like people were parked like in front of our house or something like that, I would just watch or whatever. When I got older, I realized like, okay, the police are here to protect and serve. That's their goal. That's their job. Protect and serve. They have a strict law that there's something called emergencies and there's something called non-emergencies. So what they deal with is mainly the emergencies, which are crimes, real crimes. It's hard to prove real crimes with evidence and proof unless you have like, video recording of a crime, a big crime, because nowadays a lot of things that are deemed crimes are petty and they're not even worth like misdemeanor charges. But yeah, even children, when they are under the age of 18, they're considered an adolescent. So they're treated as a juvenile. So when a child is juvenile, they go a less harsher on juveniles than adults. So long story short, you have to learn the law system and the justice system, which I learned a long time ago. Very easy. You have your Miranda rights, you can get a lawyer, you can get a public defender. If you take anything to court, you can actually sue police. A lot of people who sue police actually end up winning a lot of money, as long as you have the proof and evidence and a good lawyer and it's a good case, But long story short, the police are cool. Like, they're not against you, especially when they see you're innocent. And by the way, police look at your appearance. They judge off of how you look. They can look at your face and tell you if you're a criminal, if you're a killer, if you're like a real high crime individual. They usually know how to judge people fairly by the way they look. So if you look like a pretty girl, they're going to be like, oh, she doesn't look anything like a criminal. So real criminals, guys, versus non-emergencies. So there's a lot of petty people in the world that, they don't know the law. They don't know when is the appropriate time to call the police or threaten to call the police. And a lot of people think like, oh, they can just call 911 and for a non-emergency. You cannot do that. If you call 911, it has to be a crime going on, like a real crime. Someone with a weapon, someone getting hurt or harmed. They'll be like, does the person have a weapon? That's going to be one of their questions. And if they don't have a weapon, they're not going to come out. If it's like, okay, something petty, non-emergency, they're going to direct you to a phone line that's like a wait, because it's not emergency. It's like not important, to the police, because they have so many cases going on. They're too busy focused on the real crimes, to be focused on non-emergency. So long story short, the police have something called a victims unit. A lot of people don't know about this stuff, but I do, because I'm smart and I research and I pay attention. And I'm all about safety, public safety. Police have something called a victims unit, because there are victims out there that end up wrong place, wrong time. Maybe they are a victim, right? You have to prove that, though. You know, like let's say somebody spits in your face, somebody bullies you, somebody is like harming you, spitting in your face, that's an assault. Someone hits you in public, that's an assault. Someone tries to harm you with a weapon, that's an assault. Someone hits you, it's like an assault battery. But let's say if somebody comes to your house that you know, that's not a crime. You get what I'm saying? So it's not like you can report a person for coming to your house who you know that came to your house. That's not a crime. The police are not going to come out for that. You get what I'm saying? They're going to look at both people and say, okay, is this somebody you've been dealing with? Is this your ex or is this your boyfriend or girlfriend? Okay, these two have been in a domestic relationship. Was there any violence? No. And you can't lie about violence, you know, like there has to be some type of like camera or evidence, you know. So a lot of people like they think they could just like threaten with police, and it doesn't work like that. Let's say somebody is harassing you. It takes a lot of proof to define harassment, and they have penal codes. So if you don't know what penal codes are like long paragraphs and statements of how you have to prove somebody is harassing you. There has to be a lot of threats, you know, and they're going to tell you to block that person. They're going to give you solutions to like first block that person, and then see, because the police are not going to take something super serious yet until they go through this process. You know, it's all a process. So long story short, there are good and bad police. Long story short, they're always hiring. Long story short, background check, all that good stuff. Always get a background check. You should always do background check. Like my background check always clears. It's clean record. Also, what else? Yeah, like I said, crimes, there's white collar crimes, there's blue collar crimes, and there's just blatant out crimes, you know. And I've seen criminals get out of certain things, and I've seen innocent people be put away, you know. So the justice system is really tough, you know. But yeah, like as long as you read books and you read and you know that what you're doing can be justified, you're fine. You know, a lot of people out in reality try to make people feel guilty without even a fair trial. It's crazy. You know, a lot of people are not wise. They're just not smart. They're not articulate, they're not reading, you know. Everything is a fair trial, even when you're not in court. Justice is always working when you're not in court. You can't lie your way through life, you know. You can't make up, you know, stuff, you know. Like everything is justified justice. You know, everybody has their doomsday, you know. At the end of the day, everybody has their Sunday, you know. So at the end of the day, it's like this, like if you're wrong, you're wrong. If you're right, you're right. It just is what it is, you know. Like there's always going to be one side that's going to be claimed as innocent and one side's going to be guilty, and there's going to be a jury and a judge, and they're going to decide in whose favor, you know. Small claims court, you can take people there. It's a process, but there's no jury when it comes to small claims. That's between a judge and the lawyers and the defendants and people who are, you know, claiming whatever they're claiming. Long story short, yeah, like the way to tell somebody is very mature for their age is they know the court system, they know the law, they know justice, they know their rights. Yeah, so there's the Bill of Rights, there's our Miranda rights, there's our amendments. Yeah, and there's a bunch of rights that people don't even know about, like, you know. So yeah, I would say get educated, you know, so that you don't look stupid in person, you know, if you don't know your stuff. But yeah, legally, there's a lot of things that are legal. Like you can go get a firearm legally, but you have to register it. But you cannot use a firearm loosely. Like it has to be under certain laws that you can only use your firearm to protect yourself. You can protect your own self, these days, but you have to like, know what you're doing, because you can be found guilty if you do use your firearm without knowing the law behind it, But long story short, there's a lot of things that people get away with because a lot of things are very petty and under the law. Like, there's just certain laws that the court system doesn't want to deal with. There's certain things that they don't want to deal with. It has to be a certain big thing for someone to deal with something like that. It has to be something substantial to get on the news, like if it got on the news, it's big, but long story short, I've never had an issue with the law. If I talk to a police officer, they're always nice to me. Like if I go up to a police officer, ask them a question, they're open, they're ready to answer a question. They're ready to serve, protect. They like I said, they look at your appearance and they see what they see, in you, and they know how to judge, fairly. But I've never met a real dirty cop before. Like a lot of the cops I've dealt with have been pretty business, and if anything, they have been apologetic, or they have always, tried to fix things for me. And, I've never had any issue with the law like that. Like, I always stay in my little corner in I always stay to myself, So at the end of the day, I'm not afraid of like justice, law system, all that good stuff. My mom, she worked for a prosecutor. So growing up, my mom was in a law office for the city. She was the city prosecutor's liaison. So if you guys don't know what a prosecutor is, it's a designated by default city government lawyer, attorney, someone that puts criminals away or decides what charges criminals are going to get. So she's the liaison. So she was working with the prosecutor. So she's retired now, but yeah, so just imagine what I was dealing with. Like I would hear her talk about cases. She would talk about cases with me, It was a real, and then my dad worked for Fleet, so he worked with all their cars, the city cars. They're both retired, but yeah, and just imagine my neighbor was an FBI agent. So I was always surrounded around that type of energy. Lawyers, like attorneys, I've seen it all, I know the game. There's a big game to it, and you have to play it smart, and that's just how it is. A lot of people are not as aware, so yeah, get educated. A lot of people don't even know about copyright and fair use on YouTube. YouTube is cool because they have fair use. Fair use protects you a lot from people like trying to do stuff and to your videos, but yeah, guys, justice is always going to prevail. You're maybe not even going to see it, but like karma always happens. It doesn't matter, like let's say you have small karma, you get what I'm saying? Like it could be like you hit somebody on the hand, you get hit back on the hand, wow, that's not big karma, big karma, like, okay, you take somebody's dog, one day something of value, of that same value, is going to be taken from you. You get what I'm saying? Like I said, like little karma is like whatever, but even big karma, you do something really good for someone, that comes back around on you. You have good karma. So it's like I said, it's all about how you look at life and how you adapt and deal with things fairly and justly, especially in relationships. If a person threatened you, what is threatened? Tries to say, oh, I'm gonna do this to you if you don't do this for me. That's a threat. You get what I'm saying? and if you take that personally, because that is your relationship, you know, 9 times out of 10, that person is going to end up receiving exactly what they put out, you know, and you don't even have to do it. Like, their person is just it's just going to happen, you know. I would say stay away from people who are harsh, especially when it comes to love life and you haven't hurt them or did anything to them and they're harsh. Try to stay in your own lane and get away from people who can't be friendly, who are harsh. That's what I have to say about that. Forgive, move on, and move forward. Forgiveness is for yourself so that you're not holding on into anything, so that new can come in your life. But yeah, guys, that's my advice on police is like, just get educated, read books, ask questions, learn from experiences, and grow and mature, you know. So goodbye.